Welcome to the PrimeSpan Podcast, where we talk about aging, mental health, and living well in the years that matters the most. Each week, we cut through the noise to focus on what actually helps you feel clearer, steadier, and more in control as you age. If you're navigating the second half of life or thinking ahead, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Here we are at the beginning of 2026, and we're recording our first episode for the year. But this episode is a reflective episode. And so we want to welcome all of our listeners again for listening to our podcasts. Welcome, Kassandra. Welcome, Allyson. I'm so glad that both of you are here. Happy New Year, first of all.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
How's the year been for both of you so far?
Fast. I think that it just came, and I can't believe we're already on day 8 of the new year. Like it's just happened so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Last year was just like a blink. As I was looking at the topic of today and reflecting on, I can't believe how much was done last year and how quickly it went.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Allie?
Yeah, I agree. The year always goes by fast. But I guess the start of this year has been good and settled so far. Like you said, it's only 8 days in, but the end of the year is always a lot of events and things to go to, and it's pretty jam-packed. And so being able to just kind of breathe for this first week of the month of the year has been good so far. So I think I needed it to be settled after the busyness of the holidays.
This episode, I'd like to focus on some gratitude, some reflection, what happened to us overall for 2025, some unexpected lessons from the year, and some important reflections that I think a lot of people can relate to. And the first question I want to just bring up to all of us here is, I'm curious, what is one thing you're genuinely grateful for from 2025? Why it mattered more than you expected? And who or what supported you in a quiet way?
I'll answer first. One thing I'm grateful for, I have 2 actually that I put down, but the first one is for my family. Why did they matter more than I expected this year? Because my close family, we lost one of our closest uncles. And I was able to go back and be with my family. And I just found out I'm mostly away from my family a lot of the year, and being able to spend time with them and just be with them and be supported by one another mattered a lot to me, that I was able to be there with them because I'm not typically. So that's one. I'm also genuinely grateful for both of you for believing in me and always mentoring me and supporting me, always behind the scenes, and it's always with grace and kindness. And I just couldn't ask for better friends, business partners, and just wonderful people. Thank you, guys. Someone that supported me in a quiet way was my boyfriend. He's always been behind the scenes, but always encouraging, and knowing that we're building PrimeSpan together. He's always trying to be positive and trying to make sure that I eat, and just helping me with other things behind the scenes so that I can focus on my goals here.
Those are beautiful. Cass, what do you have in mind?
Allie, that was really, really sweet, and it makes me a little emotional. I'm trying not to be emotional with this all. I I appreciate these questions because I've been wanting to have time to reflect. I just didn't make the time to reflect before the new year, Adam. So this really got me geared up to set the time to reflect. So mine's an interesting one. As I was looking back, I had to look back at all my photos really to kind of remind me of the whole year and what's happened. And what I'm grateful for is stress. Honestly, I look back and I actually looked up like the word stress and how many different types of stress there are in categories, and I feel like I hit like just about every single category of stress this year.
Oh my goodness.
Some, some that's visible that, people that I shared with people, and others that were just more internal. And, I think that there's when I was looking up stress earlier, there's acute stress, which, I looked at that as that's more positive, right? Like that's when you're, preparing for like a presentation. That's when you're having to, maybe work on a project that is exciting, but you're under the gun, right? So that's really kind of strengthening you. So I definitely experienced that throughout the year. There's one chronic stressor that I have that has been just something that I need to work on. And, that's just more of a more private stress that I'm, working on. Positive stress, it's called eustress. It's EUSTRESS, something new. And that was more, I kind of looked at my marathon training as that, because that's, again, another positive type of stress. And then there's negative and physical and mental stress. So I feel like that was, as I reflected, that was just something that resonated throughout the whole year for me, which is good and bad, so why does this matter? Because as I was reflecting, I realized while I was living moment to moment, these little stressors and like the bad stress was like in the back of my mind the whole time. And it made me realize, okay, what stress do I want to get rid of? And what stress do I want to carry forward in the new year? So, I mean, I can go into that, but I don't want to take up the whole podcast. This is not the Kassandra show. This is PrimeSpan. So, and then, who supported me? It's hard to pick one person. I have a great support system around me that includes the both of you, and another thing that I'm grateful for is just how much more closer the three of us have, three of us have become over the last 6 or 7 months. And just the deeper friendship that I have with you, Allie, through this whole process has been a gift for, that came with me in 2025. So I appreciate that. And, just family, friends, boyfriend, everyone has just been a great support through this whole year, and they continue to be. And that's probably just going to be the greatest blessing of my whole lifetime, is just having, the family and friends and support that I have. So what about you, Adam?
Well, I have to say, you just put the most beautiful spin on stress, and I love that. It's I think it's because people think of stress as a negative thing, and you just made a beautiful emphasis that stress is not always a bad thing. Stress is part of life, and stress should be handled with grace. And you handle stress very nicely, and you're really an exemplary model of this, Kassandra. When I was putting this together as a reflection, I agree with you. It's so hard to select a single person or single event or something. But just like all of you, I couldn't select one. But if I will select one specific thing for 2025, as you all know, I became a dad at the end of the year. I don't know. Suddenly, I'm emotional. It's such a huge life-changing blessing. It's everybody who's told me, you don't know what's gonna hit you until he's out, until you see his face, and until you hold him in your hands. And I tell you, it's such a different feeling. The other thing that I've experienced so far during that process is the marriage. That during the whole process of the birthing has become stronger. For that 9 months of my wife being pregnant, I think it drawn us closer together. But during this 9 months, uh, my marriage, I think, has just elevated to a different level. And then really, as both of you mentioned, having both of you um, closer, I consider you as like sisters and family, and I genuinely mean that. And now that I have a son, I call you aunties of my son, and it's to me that's genuine. I'm grateful for. Um, and I think what I learned too is that the the amount of people in my support system, it's never been a big support system. It's always been a small support system, but the quality of it has really just been stronger. And I kind of learned who those people are even more, and the two of you are part of it. And I'm just equally grateful because of just how deep this relationship has been, and it's been amazing experience. I think we know each other in different level now, and so it's just a huge belt of gratitude to what we've experienced together. um and wherever we go, I think, and whatever we accomplish, whatever route we take, I think this is 2025 is such a beautiful time to remember. Really, it's been an interesting year of growth. 2025 growth in a lot of relationship, and so it's been beautiful. It's, um I'm curious when it comes to the people that are listening to us, the members in different levels, and for the future that will be listening here at PrimeSpan, um, because this is something that we're thriving. For those of you future listeners and listeners right now, PrimeSpan, really, when we designed this platform, our goal is to provide an environment where you could feel that you would belong to a safe environment where you could thrive and grow, and you can still find purpose in life and meaning, bringing back your meaning in life. And I want to ask each one here, I'm curious, did you have any moment of doubt in 2025? Maybe a fear you worked through, and perhaps a misconception you had about yourself, or maybe what you do? Is there something that you can share that maybe people can relate with?
I'm gonna start with maybe a doubt. I don't know that I had any major doubts this year. I mean, yes, there's doubts, of course, of being part of a startup, but I think that's just kind of normal and expected. I will say, and I'm just going to go back to this, and I won't bring it up again because this is 2025, because we're in 2026. But and the marathon seems like it was more than 9 months ago, 10 months ago, however long it's been. But there was a time between my training in January and February, with the marathon being in March, where I was like, wait, am I really gonna do this? And this was like kind of right before I had to do my 20-mile training run. And after doing that and it being 5.5 hours, I'm like, am I really ready? Am I really going to be running, for this long for the race? Am I really going to do this? And I started to talk myself out of it. And like, maybe I shouldn't even do it because my time's going to just be like crazy, So there was probably a 2-week period where I really was just like, I'm not going to do this, forget it. And I talked to my sister, I talked to my boyfriend, who are both very athletic. Said, you've already been putting all the training in. Why are you just going to give up? You've put in all this time. So I think that was probably the biggest moment of doubt that I had to work through, because that's really, you know, when you're training for a run like that, it's really just you that's out there. You know, there's people around you, but you know, it's just you, yourself, and your mind that you're having to fight and battle with. So that was probably my biggest doubt. And then a fear that I worked through, I realized that I like to kind of control a little bit more than what I thought I did and anticipate things going wrong. And there was a moment in time this past year where I was anticipating different things going wrong and how I would react and respond. And I realized, like, I can't do that to myself. Like, why am I allowing these fears that I have to ruin being in the present? Because I'm so focused on, well, what if something doesn't work, or if this doesn't work? So that was a big fear that I had to work through. And I didn't realize I was doing that. So I'm going to leave it at there and let Allie or you jump in and share.
My moment of doubt really kind of relates to us being in the startup, because I'm someone who never really takes a lot of risk in life, and I always like things to be predictable, and you know, I have to, when I make decisions, I have to weigh out a lot of things. And so joining something new, something I haven't done, you know, career-wise, I've done my same thing for the last decade, which I like knowing what I'm comfortable in, and, you know, doing something that's uncomfortable gave me a moment of doubt for sure. And, you know, am I smart enough? Am I intelligent enough to go through something like this and build something that I've never done before? So the fear of not doing something I've ever done before was really scary. And you know, thinking through all the scenarios as I often do, kind of making myself spiral, but having you both as a grounding force, and just knowing that we can all depend on one another, and that will come through, you know, that helps me work through the fears. So thank you for always being there for me and keeping, you know, being that calming grounding force, I guess. Yeah.
I worry about I still doubt myself every day, and this is why, like, I always check in. Like, I doubt on, am I doing things correctly towards making decisions? Because I'm looking at it like, there's times like, okay, I'm making decisions for so many people. Like, I'm used. This is what we do. We do it in our day jobs. We do it all the time. But it's an interesting feeling. It's the most humbling feeling that we have at a startup level. That's the reference point that I'm picking up from. And I have to say, the one of the biggest doubt that I experienced early on was when we were when we were trying to build the websites. And in the beginning, we're like, we are not coders. We're gonna be coding, and we're like, oh
No,
my
we're up
goodness.
late at night.
Yes, when we're about to when we're coding and doing stuff, and we're like, oh my goodness, we're not coders at all, and we're starting to code, and we're starting to hex codes and all of these things, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we're now content creators. It's that's our job. And then I'm like, every day I look at myself when I'm looking, and when I'm doing my people who's gonna listen to this podcast, they're gonna be like, he's doubting himself. But when you're in the beginning, when you're doing content creation, I doubt myself to be on camera. I mean, lately I'm not anymore. Like, I'm doing my content, I'm doing my post things, I don't doubt it anymore. I'm like, I feel good, I feel confident. But before, I'm like, am I really okay putting my face in the camera? Am I who's gonna listen to me? Am I worth it? Am I, it's who am I? But then when you think about the depth of this, we're trying to do good work for people, and we have the expertise, and we've had the research backgrounds and all of those things. It's been a fascinating experience of moment of doubt on a regular basis. It's an internal process that you have to that I have to go through on a regular basis to make sure that it's a huge because it's a huge responsibility that I always feel that I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing for everybody. And part of me is I always want to make sure everybody's happy.
I think it's true though that there's comfort in knowing that the three of us can lean on each other and know that we'll be there. And if someone's underwater for a little bit, the other two are keeping things afloat. And I was talking to Allie about this earlier today, that I feel like I've been, the one a little bit more underwater lately. But we've all kind of rotated through that at times over the last 6 or 7 months. So when the time comes and we have to buckle down, everyone is, above water and doing what they need to do. So and supporting one another.
Yeah, and that I think has been the most beautiful experience when it comes to that misconceptions of it wasn't a misconception of mine now, but before it would have been a misconception that you have to be the strongest, or you must have that you need to not show any of this emotions or weakness, or you not admit that you're struggling. Like I am comfortable of who I am and what I experience and what I'm experiencing, and lately that's been the best thing to do. Like, just express that I'm not comfortable of saying that, or I'm not that, but having both of you has really been probably the biggest blessing when it comes to not having those doubts.
I want to just make another comment though, because I think it's important as a leader, which you really embody, and I think all three of us in different areas do embody that you are transparent about that, and you mentioned not having all the answers, and that was one of the misconceptions that I looked at in terms of like leadership, where the word leader is thrown around so loosely now to people who really aren't leaders. And as a leader, it's okay not to have all the answers, and that there is room for collaboration and maybe restraint and letting things kind of flow to determine what is the next step, that's needed to take the team. So you bring up a really good point when you're talking about the misconception of leadership.
I think that's maturity that's brought us there, for the way I see it, how, at least for me, how I practice it. When you're looking at this year, we're already at 2026, 8 days in. What is one word or phrase you want for 2026 to feel like?
The first word that came to my mind was balance, because we've been trying to balance many things. My other word is also growth, because I hope to grow more in the role that I'm in, and grow with our team, and grow our community. So growth for where we're at, but also for myself, trying to balance everything, which I couldn't really find other word other than that. But balance and growth.
Cass, what do you have in mind?
My word is liberation.
Liberate. You're bringing some really interesting.
I am.
Okay.
I am because this has just been on my, like I said, like I really reflecting on stress, and like when I thought about the word stress earlier, I'm like, oh yeah, that really encompasses what this last year has been for me. But liberation in terms of just being like releasing myself from like bad habits and things that are holding me back, and routines or routines maybe that have been part of my life for years that are no longer maybe helpful anymore. And just I'm just realizing what are reflecting on some of the things that have been heavy on me this year. It's time to liberate myself from those things going into 2026.
It's fascinating that both of you, your themes. Mine would be discipline, because what I'm realizing is that at this new stage of life, I really would have to be extremely disciplined about how I spend the most important thing now I have, really, and I don't have infinite of it, is time. And because now, before, Adam can spend a lot of time with work and then wife. Now I don't even have time to work out, because now I have to make sure family, son, PrimeSpan, work. I mean, discipline is going to be the biggest theme for me for 2026. And I have to tell you, it's such an uphill battle so far. It's like the most interesting thing for 2026, but it is going to be my phrase for 2026. It's the proper discipline. And one friend that reminded me, um, uh, Dara reminded me. She said, when you have a son, when you have a kid, you're gonna realize that almost everything that mattered before won't matter. The most important thing really will show up, and those are the only thing that you're gonna give time, because now your time is so limited, and so you don't have time for those things that you thought really mattered. And I think that's really what's gonna happen. That shifted after my marriage, because I prioritized my marriage a lot, and now I realize same thing. It's another shift that's happening, and so discipline is going to be the biggest practice.
I'm really excited for this stage of life that you're in, though, because you've created this family, your family around, you have your family, your nuclear family unit now, and it's gonna be just from our point of view, it's just so special to watch you letting go of some of those things that you thrived in doing, and how, and I know it's hard because that's such it's embedded in who you are, but I think that coming into this new chapter of life, or starting this new chapter of life, I think your cup's just gonna overflow in ways that it hasn't in the past. So I think it's just a really beautiful time.
Yeah, and I think it is that, but I also think that there's what they call the most humbling experience in life.
Yeah.
Because you're really going to end up switching real priorities.
Yeah.
And I've seen that, which is, and this is probably one of my second question, like what mindset of practice I'm trying to commit to, because this new chapter in life, to your point, Kassandra, is like one of my biggest piece has been my career. And even taking a time off, I felt like taking time off for that long time is relevance to me. And that has been a big shift. Where am I secured to myself, that am I relevant to take a time off? And to me, that's a big shift. The heck with the relevance. What's important is you have to take care of your son and your wife, and that's the heck with that relevance question. That's not important. If you're not relevant, who cares? Or if you're relevant, who cares? You're relevant when you put the work. That's in my mind. But it's really a huge humbling experience. I cannot compare it to any experience that I've experienced. Probably the second most humbling experience is like the startup, because anything that I do, there's micro wins, but until the biggest win that I know we should be at, which is the biggest growth, it's like the most humbling experience to be in. It's just in a startup environment where you're like, every day you're just reminded of who you should be and where you should be. Because in career environment, we've done well, and so it's in the startup level, you're really doing something where grit and everything. And so the mindset or practice I'm trying to commit to is, you're gonna have to let go of those things. It's such a huge humbling experience. So well, we're getting closer to an end here, because I think we've done a good amount of reflection, and I want to make sure we're beginning of the year. I'm feeling great for 2026. PrimeSpan is growing. We have a lot of team members joining us. We have coaching coming up. We have coaches joining us. Our team is growing. Our relationships getting deeper, and so we're expanding. But I want to ask you, what is one thing that you want to carry forward into 2026, and something that you want to really bring to the world, manifest, as we say, that we want everyone to know or manifest here?
My commitment to myself is really to focus, which I think will help with the one, like the liberation piece and the stress piece, is really focusing in on my spirituality and meditation that's rooted in my faith and like beliefs. I that's just such a I feel like it's just a simple step or simple practice to do in daily life that doesn't really require, it doesn't require much. It's really just you setting time aside to focus, on that area, and put forth that practice in whatever way that you want to. So that's what I'm gonna carry, and what my one commitment to myself is gonna be, is really just focus on that meditation and spirituality piece daily.
That's beautiful.
I have two things that came to my mind. The first one is, I've been reflecting a lot about the pillars that we have at PrimeSpan, and one thing that I want to enhance this year for my own lifestyle is committing to exercising more, or moving more. If that means taking, a walk in the day, because I need to commit more to myself and protecting my time more. Kind of going along with the balance part, I think I'm very much of a giver and will give more of my time to anyone than think about myself. And so I've in the last part of the year, I really needed to focus on my time and protecting the time that I have for different things, kind of like what you're saying, Adam, like disciplining yourself for that. So, being intentional with scheduling my exercise and going to it, and knowing that I really feel better after moving. And so just committing my time to what's important to me, and how can I um, give that to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Be a little more selfish for me. Yeah. And because I can, I don't need to, I don't need to give it to, a little baby, or in this moment, I can do that because I don't have as many people that are depending on me here because of my current, living setup and everything.
And I think you should. It's this is the best time. You actually give, you be able to give more if you are healthier. I mean, so, but you have to take care of yourself. Mine would be, started doing it last year. I've expressed myself more, and I think I did this deeper last year. I wasn't afraid of doing it last year. I've expressed I've expressed love and care last year more than ever, and more openly, actually. Uh, and I actually felt much better. And this year, my commitment to self is to deepen that. I think sharing more love with people is one of the most important thing, and I think people actually needs to be loved, and that's where people sometimes, why people feel empty, lonely, and doing things because they never felt the love. And it's been fascinating to see when you share love with people, how people suddenly like change around you. And lately, um that's been one of the biggest thing that I've been practicing, and expressing it more. That when I really care and love about, when I care and love someone, I've been doing it, and this year I want to do that more. um my coach told me that feel confident about that voice, because that is, people want to hear that, people want to know that, about that you really care and love them. And so, um being more expressive about it, and sharing, that I care and love some person, or my friends and family. um I think it's a lot easier to do it more when you have a little baby in front of you too, because now you're like, practice it more, um so it's such an interesting shift. And then the other thing is, the one last thing that I think that I'm gonna commit, is that being more understanding about people. I don't think I'm a judgmental type. I typically, I look at things all around, but I think that if you do more of understanding, it really does allow people to feel the love, because that's the other part of it. It goes hand in hand. And so, I don't know, I've learned a lot more of the love piece this past couple of years, especially for the past 2 years. um because the world needs more of it, but for the most part, the people around me, I think, deserves more of it. And I feel better doing it more. So, um yeah, and love both of you. Like my family, you're my family. Not like my family, you're my family. So, um yeah, this is quite a reflective episode, something to start us for 2026. Anything to close for listeners, aside from letting go of manifestation word?
I feel the love. Thank you. I love you both too. I think I've been a witness to Adam being, mm, um, you've always been a vulnerable person and, openly sharing about, who you are and everything. And I think the closer we've all gotten, the more vulnerable we're able to be. And it really just kind of helps to break down a wall and for us to be able to see each other better. And so thank you for always making that space um, for me. So, yes.
Okay, I love you both too.
With
Yeah,
that,
period.
well, with that, we're ending this episode. For all of you who are listening, we appreciate. Well, in a more serious note, we thank you for listening to this episode. We promise to bring you real good topics for this year. Um, there's a lot more exciting topics we're going to talk about. More, as we all know, we're science informed. There's a lot of new changes that's happening out there. We're going to talk about food pyramid. We're going to talk about the whole wellness system. We're going to talk about coaching. We're going to talk about relationships. There's a lot of topics, and we're excited to bring that on to our next podcast episodes. Also, podcast guests. We're lining up those people too. Thank you again for listening to this episode. Until next one, hopefully you continue to tune in. Happy New Year. And thank you, Allyson. Thank you, Kassandra, for always being here.
Thank you for spending time with us. If today's conversation gave you clarity or steadiness, take that with you. We release new episodes weekly. Follow the PrimeSpan Podcast on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss what's next. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep living well.